to youth, those who are associated with Iskcon, or those who are new devotees to Iskcon. So I welcome Gopa Gaan Prabhu in front of us. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Do I use this? You want to?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. And welcome to our channel. So we've got some questions for you, so we'd like to answer you for that. So the first question is, like, when did you realize that you want to join Iskcon for your devotional activities and to gain Krishna consciousness?
So, well, there's two ways you can answer that. One is, when did I realize in my mind, or when did I physically realize? At what age was I? So I'll answer both.
Yes.
So I was 21, I was in college, I had a whole life before that, growing up with my family. I was in college, studying, and yeah, I met the devotees, the Hare Krishna devotees that summer. I got a book about Prabhupada's life. Actually, that book kind of changed my life. It was the biography of Prabhupada. So yeah, that leads me on to my second answer, which is, when did I actually realize? So I joined in 1984, Christmas 1984. I was 21, and Prabhupada's disappearance was still quite fresh. You know, people were still speaking about Prabhupada in the present tense. You know, like for example, if it was here, people would say, "Oh, don't do that, Prabhupada doesn't like that." Or, "No, Prabhupada, this is the way Prabhupada likes it." So everything was that Prabhupada was actually there. And I'd actually only read half of the book, and I decided to join. Well, I say I decided to join, but it was through the mercy of the devotees, Priti Prabhu. He was closing all the back doors that I had open for my escape, you know, my metaphorical back doors that I could run out and say, "Oh, I cannot join because of this," or "I cannot join because of that." And so he was closing all those back doors. And so then, because it was a desire that I had, I wanted to join the devotees, but it was a mixed desire, because I still had other desires that I thought I wanted to fulfill, you know, travel or do this, do that. And gradually through the course of our conversation, he was helping me to realize that the boat is leaving, you know, that, you know, sometimes, like in, say for example, in property or in business, a person who is expert, they will see windows of opportunity. Sometimes they become open, and then an inexperienced person will come along and say, "Oh, I can do that," but by that stage the opportunity is closed. So I kind of felt that this was an opportunity that I had, and so yeah, that was in Southern Ireland, in a farm, a very remote farm up the mountains. There was no one there. Very few people there. So that was when I realized. Also, I was very much attracted to the symptoms of the devotees. You know, they were very effulgent, they were very happy, they had many qualifications, many qualities and characteristics that attracted me. You know, and so I thought, even before I realized you know, the magnitude of what it was that I was getting involved in, I was already immediately attracted. You know, I was attracted by this prasad, and I was attracted by the strength and the commitment and the enthusiasm of the devotees. And I was thinking, I want some of that. And then, of course, then it started to dawn on me the magnitude of the tradition of what I was getting involved in.
All right, thank you so much, Prabhuji. So the next question comes, though we all are youth over here, so as per your understanding, what should be the right path for youth to follow in the devotional services? Like we see a lot of youth, those who follow devotional services, but then they don't take the right path to devotional services. So as per your understandings, what should be the right path so that one could continue in devotional services or could, take part in devotional services?
This is such a broad question, you know. I'm a father myself, and also I remember when I was in a young body, and I like to think of what it is that I would have liked senior devotees to say to me. They say that the association of a pure devotee, even a moment's association, is so rare, so one has to somehow or other get association of senior devotees so that one can, just from a material perspective, get some information, but also we know the process that if we please those devotees in some way, because they're dear to Krishna, then Krishna becomes pleased, and then Krishna will give us all the mercy as well. So I can kind of speak initially about my own perspective, and that is, one has to become strong. One cannot be sentimental. And in order to become strong, because in the beginning we're likened unto matches. A match can break very easily. But if you put all the matches together, you cannot break them. So that's why we're all here. The minute we have this lockdown, which is a good thing actually. There's a lot of good things about this because, there's not much distraction. There's no distraction, So now, when I first joined, there were no computers. Computers came in just in the middle 80s. I remember when they were selling Macs up on Dawson Street in Dublin. I remember thinking they were very strange. And then, of course, with mobile phones. So, because we're coming from a position of not being able to control our senses, it's almost akin to giving a child a knife, or using machinery, threshing machinery, or driving a car while under the influence. So one has to be very, very careful when one is dealing with the material energy, just like Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion, that material contamination is very subtle. How you initially become contaminated by material energy is very subtle. And Prabhupada gives the example about disease, how disease comes in. One may not know necessarily how the disease starts, just like this coronavirus. They don't really know how it has started, and then they're trying to figure out the vaccine. But we know if you use that in relation to Krishna, we know that the vaccine is Krishna consciousness. So one has to be very careful. One has to choose one's association very carefully in a non-judgmental way with the youth. And then also think of the future, because the youth of today, especially young brahmacharis, they have every opportunity to make their life a success. No one can stop them. Who's going to stop them? Unless you're maybe travelling in countries that are dangerous, Muslim countries or certain areas of Africa or whatever. But in general, the world's your oyster. You can go out and preach up a storm, and you have every success to become guru, to renounce one's material attachments. So I would say just think of the future, think of the long run. Many people fail, unfortunately, statistics show that there are many people that come to Krishna consciousness, but very few actually stick it out for the long run. So one has to educate yourself, read the books, understand the philosophy, not just superficially, but actually understand Bhagavad Gita, understand nectar devotion, and understand the importance of it for yourself, so that because there's going to be troughs and peaks in your life, and then you'll be able to deal with those things when times get tough. You'll be able to resort to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in order to carry you through. Materialists do this all the time. Positive affirmations. So you need to build up in yourself a whole catalogue of positive affirmations in the form of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness.
So basically knowledge, right association and commitment, these three basically are the right guides to the path of devotion for new devotees, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's
if somebody gains right kind of knowledge, gains right kind of the groups or right kind of association, and remain committed to the the rules of organization, then I think you should survive in this organization, I believe.
Well, yes, and you put that all together along with you have some integrity. You need integrity because you might have all of those things, but you might have some ulterior motive. The motive is that you're looking for something, and then when you achieve it, you go away. As many people come to the movement because they want to achieve something, they'll use the devotees to get it, and then they'll go away. So the advantage of gaining transcendental knowledge is that with knowledge you gain more of an appreciation for Krishna and his devotees, and that appreciation is devotion. So we're trying to increase our devotion. We do that through transcendental knowledge and through serving the devotees as well.
Alright. So as you just said that becoming a Krishna conscious. So my question is that how do you define Krishna consciousness? Like the concept Krishna consciousness, some people are confused. Like how do they define Krishna consciousness? Like joining the organization itself is not gaining Krishna consciousness. You need to work a lot to gain the consciousness. So what according to you is the right definition for Krishna consciousness? This is my third question.
Yeah, so according to Krishna and his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, Krishna consciousness, it is what it says on the tin. It says Krishna consciousness, and that's what it means. It means to be conscious of Krishna. So we're in this tabernacle, this body, it has 5 senses, and we can either be conscious of that which is like in Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad says, by the way, Ishopanishad is a fantastic book for reading for young devotees because it gives one the vision of what a pure devotee should be. It gives the proper guidelines, and then there's prayers at the end which are beneficial for a devotee to meditate on. So the Ishopanishad says, if you meditate on that which is not supreme, you get one result. If you meditate on the supreme, you get another result. So the important thing is that we gear our life in such a way that everything that we do, we're thinking of Krishna. Now, we don't want to just kind of go through the motions. At the same time, we're doing it in a loving, reciprocal way with the devotees. And then we're hoping that the devotees are pleased. And because the devotees are pleased, then Krishna is pleased. It's like, somebody... it's very simple like that. So, a very good test, a very nice little thing to start with is, you say, can I be Krishna conscious for 1 second? Yes. Can I do it for 2 seconds? 1, 2, yes. And 4 seconds? Yes. like that. Just start from a significant moment in your life, and then just gradually increase like that. The whole idea is to build up a meditation that no matter what it is that you do, or no matter what interaction that you have with anyone, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking of that Krishna is within everyone and within everything, and that like that. So then, because at the time of death, we will be tested. We are transitioning like that. Similarly, there's transference from one body into another body at death. The sober person is not deluded by such a change. Why? Because he's learned to tolerate. And the reason why he's learned to tolerate is because through the strength of his sadhana, through thick and thin, he's always practicing his devotional service and his chanting and his reading, despite ill health or infamy or whatever is going on. Still there's this constant in his life, and that constant is real. It's a genuine realization, just like a parrot can learn to speak. You see many parrots or minor birds, they can, you grab it by the throat and it squawks. But a pure devotee, whatever happens to them, they're thinking, Hare Krishna. Something nice happens, Hare Krishna. It's all Krishna, it's all the mercy of Krishna. So that constant, that is what we're striving for.
Alright, thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, my last question to you, like, I joined 2 months back, so I'm like quite aware about the practices and what I need to do in my routine life. But then there are a lot of new devotees, whether they are full-time devotees or they are the volunteers or maybe the part-time devotees. So when they come to know that there are a lot of things, like they need to read the books, they need to chant, they need to do seva and all these kind of things. So they get confused, like how much time they need to devote to chanting, how much time to reading, how much time to the lectures. So they get confused about all these things. So I just want like you, as per your experience and knowledge, to prioritize these things as per the priorities. Like I've got 5 to 6 points, 5 to 6 activities and practices which we do as a devotee. So I just want you to prioritize as per the like which activity or which practice is utmost important, followed by the rest. Though all of them are important and all of them are rather equally important for me, but for new devotees, it's like they get quite confused to manage their time and all these kind of things. So I just need you to give us a like list as per your experience. So the first one, reading books, listening to lectures, chanting, the routine seva or services which we do, meditation, learning Vaishnava etiquettes or following the Vaishnava etiquettes. So these six.
What do you mean by meditations?
Meditation means like kind of we say like dhyan or something. Dhyanam.
Huh?
Dhyan.
Dhyan. Yeah. So what do you mean by that?
Like we see yogis do dhyan, sitting idly and remembering their Lord in their minds, not chanting. Dhyan is quite different from chanting. Though chanting is also a part of meditation, but then without chanting, people recommend to do meditation every day.
Yeah.
So how do you categorize these things?
So this is an interesting question. The main thing is that we're pleasing the devotees wherever we go. And so, just like in a play, as you see a play, there's act one, scene one, and then the curtains close, you open and there's different scenery. So here we are, the devotees, and we have the pleasure and the privilege of getting to know the different devotees. But you can be sure, because everything is temporary in the material world, that in 6 months' time, 1 year, there'll be a different set of actors, a different set of people.
True.
We have to think of the long run. So I guess the main thing to do is to please the devotees. So there's, you have Guru, Shastra and Sadhu. So this is like a triangle, or a way, like a check and balance system. How do you know that what you're doing is correct? Well, I know that's not really the question, but basically the important thing is that one is pleasing the authority. That one first of all has an authority, that one uses one's intelligence to find, as Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Instruction, there are 3 different kinds of devotees, right? You got the first devotee, they like prasadam, they like kirtan, but they're not really following that strictly. They might be, they have some mixed motives, but they don't really want to practice that seriously. So they should be appreciated from a distance. Then you've got the Madhyamadikari, they're very strictly following, and those people are initiated, they're worshipping the deity, they're practicing devotional service. One should offer obeisances to them, one should become friends with them, associate with them. And there's the Uttamadikari, and he's the pure devotee. There's not a trace of criticism in his heart. The propensity for criticism is not there. Generally you can tell a person is an Uttamadikari by the fact that they're influencing so many people to take to Krishna consciousness. So how do you gain the favour of the devotee? Well, generally it's menial service, to try to get close to them, even from a practical point of view, just to do something so that you can get their association. Because usually people are quite busy.
To Uttamadikaris, right?
Yeah, well, for most people anyway are usually busy, so usually like that, unless you might be very talented and you want to do something extraordinary with your talents, But then you have this is like the difference between karma yoga and bhakti yoga, so that the spiritual master, he sees that some disciple has some tendency or some talent, or maybe some activity that he's attached to. But he says, no, you can use that in Krishna's service. So even though technically it's not bhakti yoga, it's considered bhakti yoga because the ultimate goal is to please Krishna. Just in the same way, if one is cooking, so you could say cleaning the kitchen, is that cooking? No, but because it's ultimately going to be used for cooking, cleaning is a part of cooking.
Somehow connected.
Buying the vegetables, like that, so it's all part of cooking. So when you get to the stage where you're not attached to the activity that you're doing, that you will do whatever it is that the spiritual master asks, and you're not attached to the results, that's bhakti, that's unmotivated bhakti yoga. Anyway, back to your question, the point is, in order to make sure that you're making the right decision, just like you see these birds flying in the sky in formation, the geese, right? They're benefiting from the airflow of each other, but at the same time they're flying on their own strength. So we're associating with the devotees, and we're serving the devotees, but at the same time one has to become strong. So your question then actually depends on the individual. So I suppose the easy answer is the association of devotees is the most important. Reading, educating yourself is the most important. But that has to be done in conjunction with the spiritual master. Prabhupada says chanting 16 rounds is the most important activity. So that's for helping us. But there's many people who chant, but they may not be very well versed in the philosophy. So understanding the philosophy or reading the books, you're directly associating with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is constantly reminding you of the importance or the goal of life. So the other thing I would say is, just to conclude,
Lectures.
Listening. Lectures are a part of reading. So first of all, you've got to read the books. If you don't read the books, then you don't know what the lecture is about. You've got to read the books first.
So first is reading books, right?
Read the books first. Then when you've read the books and you've learned, there's a certain amount of Prabhupada, there was about 700 verses that Prabhupada quoted during the course of his lectures, and out of those there's 180 that were quoted more than 100 times. So I would recommend the devotees learn those verses. You know, most of them are in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. So seva is very important because you're helping Prabhupada to spread the movement. You're pleasing the devotees. In meditations, that's an interesting one. Following the Vaishnava etiquette, that is so important, and this gets back to my previous thing that just like a moth to a flame, a moth sees the flame and he sees, oh, this is beautiful. Actually, once the moth sees the flame, the game is over. Because the moth, first of all, sees the flame and then thinks, oh, first of all, it's beautiful. He becomes enamored by it. And he thinks, you know what, I'm not going to go close, I'm just going to look at it. You know? And so, in the same way, the mind and the weak intelligence will justify any action, whether it be from a moral point of view, from economic, from a health, any kind of point of view, it will use in order to justify sense gratification or ignorance or going away from Krishna. So it's very important that one follow the principles in order to become pure, so that then you have clarity. One final point, which I think is very important, because we're all individual. Krishna says, you're all eternally individual. So you need some kind of hobby, some little thing that will help you to use your mind in Krishna's service. Some people like to play the harmonium, some people they like to do some writing, some people like to cook, whatever it is, one can use that personal time as an offering to Krishna, and that's very satisfying to the heart. So that can kind of answer the meditation thing, that you have your own personal meditation, your own personal time in order to practice some Krishna conscious hobby that will help you to express your devotion to Krishna. I find that very beneficial.
And where will you place chanting?
Pardon?
Where will you place chanting?
Chanting is number one anyway.
Alright.
But you know, all of these things can be number one in one sense.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really, it's like trying to choose your children, right? You can't really choose a favourite. So Prabhupada says that chanting, like Prabhupada was asked many times, what's your favourite verse? And he'd say, on one occasion it's this verse, another occasion it's this verse. So Prabhupada says, what's the most important thing? Association of devotees. Another time Prabhupada says, chanting Hare Krishna is the most important thing. So if you were to ask me what's the most important thing, I would say, do whatever it takes to Radhanath Swami Maharaj was asked one time, what's the secret to your success? And he said, to remain blissful at all times.
Great answer.
So in the same way, I would say the most important thing is to do whatever it takes to succeed in your Krishna consciousness, because life is very precious.
So these things may change as per the individual's routine, individual's day schedule. They may change as per their schedule. All right.
You know, I would just conclude and say that, you know, don't speak prajalpa, don't talk with anyone who speaks prajalpa or like that, and always do your best, you know, and always do your best, and yeah, like that. If you're doing these things, then it doesn't matter if people are criticizing you, as long as you're doing your best, you're not performing prajalpa, and that you're pleasing the devotees, then, and you're doing your sadhana, then that will give you the strength to be able to overcome all difficulties in the future. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I, on behalf of Iskcon Youth Forum Vrindavan, thank you so much for giving your valuable time. And I hope this video which we recorded today will going to help a lot of youth and new devotees, those who come to Iskcon Youth Forum. So thank you once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.